Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Staying Forever Strong. Today I get to talk to Blake Horstmann from Bachelorette season 14 and Bachelor in Paradise season 6. Him and I have been talking a lot off podcasts, and he's a really cool guy, so I'm excited for you guys to get to know him also. Hey
Yeah.
Blake, how are you?
Hi there. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We've been chatting back and forth for a while, so
Yeah, I
finally
know, so
came
I'm
to fruition.
excited.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're gonna get to be on the mental health chat soon too, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, super excited about that. Yeah, that'll be really fun. Yeah, that'll be good.
So yeah, so how have you been? How's quarantine life? And
Yeah, been good. I can't complain. I always say like I'm healthy, so at this point I can't complain.
yeah,
My life definitely got flipped upside down quite a bit with COVID because I was traveling a ton and doing appearances. I was doing DJ sets all over the country. I had a residency in Atlantic City, a residency in Vegas for the summer. Like I was
hey,
just gearing up, and then COVID hit and kind of threw a wrench into my thing. So it's been interesting though. You kind of get creative on how to like make a living, and like you just get
yeah,
creative in this time. So started a podcast now called Behind the Rose podcast. It's been great. We do a lot of mental health talk and kind of discussing how people get through their ups and downs. So that's been a lot of fun, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then got a Peloton, been riding that a bunch to stay healthy since
I
the
know, I feel
gyms
like
and stuff.
everyone's been doing that.
Yeah,
I
it's
always
gotten
see all
so
the
popular.
different videos. Yep,
Yeah, it's gotten really popular. So, but yeah, other than that, like I said, I'm healthy, so can't complain.
that's awesome. Have you been able to see anyone still that any of your friends, or is it mostly just been through Zoom?
Yeah, so actually here I'm in Denver, Colorado, and here in Denver, we're we I think personally we did it pretty well. We didn't just completely open up. We slowly have been slowly opening
I
up.
was
Like we still have to
again.
wear masks. Yeah, so we haven't had to close back down, thankfully. But we still have to wear masks everywhere. Five people to a table. You have to wear your mask into the restaurant. You can take it off when you're eating and drinking, obviously. So I've been able to see friends here and there. It's been, different. Even our gyms are open, but right now they opened about 2 months ago. But you have to wear a mask, which makes it incredibly. To work
Yeah,
out. So I think Denver's done a good job of like slowly opening up and still having mask mandates and things like that. So it was pretty much only March, April, and some of May where I was completely isolated. But luckily, I've been able to like see friends here and there and go up to the mountains, see family and things like that.
very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think our gyms just opened up, I think about a month ago, and I haven't ever really wanted to go.
Yeah.
I don't know, just too close for me, with the sweat and everything. And I
I
was
get
going
it.
to the gym a little bit before all of it, but cleaning the machines and everything,
It
you're
is a
that's
lot.
not even that easy. It's not easy, and if you think about it, because no one probably does that good of a job.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And
then,
yeah, and I do like boot camps for like each station, so we have to like wipe down every station we're
yeah,
going through
within
and move to the next
seconds.
station.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's a lot, but that is one way of keeping my sanity. Is for
yeah,
me is exercise is big for me. Yeah. So,
yeah. I like walking, and I like being
mhm.
outside. So it's getting kind of a bummer that it's getting cold here
Yeah, no.
in Michigan. So
Yeah.
it's and a lot of my friends only want outside, which I totally understand. So it's I'm starting to not be able to see them as much just because it's cold.
Uh,
It's I don't
yeah.
my body can't handle being out in the cold for hours.
I
Same.
tell you what, Denver's starting to get cold here too. We don't have we everybody thinks Denver and like Colorado in general is like snows like 9 months a year, and everything, but it's not like that like at all. In fact, you're
Really
probably
nice, isn't it?
yeah, it's super nice. We get more sunny days than like I think we're in the top 10. Denver itself is in the top 10 cities of sunny days of the year. So like people think it snows all the time, but it's sunny all the time. And our cold is different. Like you in Michigan, you guys get like cold. We
Yeah,
don't get that cold. Yeah, we get snow here and there, but it'll be like 50 in snow. You guys get like below zero pretty on like you guys
yeah.
have a different kind of cold.
I know I'm lucky because now with COVID and everything, I graduated from college 4 years ago. So and that now in the winter, I don't have to walk anywhere. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
walk to my car, get in, and go wherever. So I
That's
hated
so true.
walking in the snow.
Yeah.
So did it snow recently for you guys, right? Or was it just
Yeah, it
certain
did.
parts
It
of
was
in the
no, that's
summer?
what's
It was
yeah. That's what's so weird about Colorado. Like I think it was May. I want to say it was like
I think it was also August or
Yeah, I think, yeah,
September
both. Like
that
it
day.
just, we randomly had like 3 inches of snow, but then the next day it's 92 degrees and it goes away, you know? So, and it's
Yeah.
like that in December, it'll be cold, but then all of a sudden we'll get like an 85-degree day and then it'll get cold again. Denver's high. Like I swear it's drunk, like weather-wise. It just does whatever it wants. There's no rules.
Everywhere. Like Michigan too, like this weekend we're gonna have a day of 70 and rain, but then the next day is 48.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, can you just
Figure it out.
obviously I don't want cold, but if it's gonna be cold, like can't you just stay cold when it's cold? I
Yeah,
hate
it's a
the up and
tease.
down.
It's a tease for
It
sure.
is.
Yeah.
Um, so was your so with quarantine, obviously, like staying home, and how was it like from being, is it any similar from being like the Bachelor bubble? Like,
Ooh, good question. Yeah, in a weird way, it was very similar. I mean, there was a lot. So, in different ways, though. So, when you're on The Bachelor, you're completely cut off from, internet, TV, phone, music. Like, you're not allowed anything.
right,
So that was super hard. But you had human beings, like you had friends and producers to talk to. Where here, in quarantine lately, you don't have human beings, but you have internet, TV,
right,
social media, like all of that. So it's just isolation in a different sense. Honestly, I'd much rather do the Bachelor isolation. I'd much rather be able to like talk to people and hang out with people
in person.
than, yeah, exactly, in person than what, over Zoom than what we're doing now. So yeah, it was, in a weird way, it was a lot alike because it's so different. You're just so different when it comes to like your routine, if you will, and things like that, and what you normally would do. But also, there's quite a few things different because not being able to see anybody, like I could give up TV and internet and all that for months, if I'm allowed to see people. So yeah, it's a different kind of bubble for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the quarantine, like the only thing I would hate, like for Bachelor wise, it's like I love to read, like before I go to bed and stuff. So I think that'd be the only bummer, like not being able to read. But like I'd get over it. Like I'd
Yeah,
rather
they
be with people.
they allow you to read a little bit. Actually, you can bring some
Oh,
books. Thing is you can't read on camera. So
well,
literally the only
yeah.
time you would be able to read would be like at night. So it
Right.
would work for you. But I remember on my season, Will's read. He
Yeah.
I bet he read like 6 or 7 books like in the month he was there.
Oh
Like he
no
was just
way.
cruising through them. Yeah, yeah. He loves to read and he would just cruise through those books at night. Yeah. So they let you read here and there, but yeah, it's sparse. You don't get to do it often. So.
Right. How is how is like the transition from coming out of like filming to coming like home?
Whew.
Especially because you didn't really like talk about it right
Yeah,
away.
it's super intense. I'll never forget the Bachelorette. So I was very close with my producer, and you get close with your producers, especially if you make it super far because you're
Right.
basically quarantined with that person for
Yeah.
basically. If you make hometowns, the last 4 weeks, or sorry, the last 4 episodes takes about 5 weeks. So the first 10 episodes take a month, and the last 4 episodes take a month. So you get to really get a lot of downtime with your producer. You get very close. We went to, for my birthday, happened to land right before my hometown, and we
Oh
went to
no
like
way.
Dodger games. Yeah, went to a Dodger game in LA. We'd work out, we go to gyms, things like that. So you get very close to the producer. And I'll never forget, and actually a lot of people don't know this, but when I was dumped in the Maldives, after the Maldives, uh, Becca and Garrett basically got like a honeymoon in the Maldives for like 5 days.
Oh,
And I couldn't go home because people would notice I was home and they would know who won. So me and my producer flew to London and we basically pub hopped for like 5 days in London. We had the ABC credit card and we went to Hamilton live. We went to Books of Mormon live in London. We got to see all the cool touristy spots. So that was really fun. I was like healing, like I was still pretty brokenhearted, but that was like a
yeah.
nice little like escape vacation, to get away from everything. But I'll never forget, we landed in LA. We got back from London, landed in LA. Like I was already kind of emotional. And my producer, I was hugging my producer. We were like both like kind of crying, and I was like
Aw,
tearing up.
yeah.
And she handed me my phone. And that was a moment where it was like, oh my, like, what do I do now? Like, basically, these producers are therapists for you. Like, you talk to
Right.
them 24/7 about everything. You're constantly around people and you talk about, like, as a man talking about your feelings like that, it doesn't happen. Like I remember being
Right.
home and my friends like why don't you guys want to talk about your feelings, like why can't we like talk about how we're feeling, so it was such a different, you're in this bubble and all of a sudden it's not like a very slow like you kind of slowly go back in the world. Like you were thrown back in the world. You turn on your phone, thousands and thousands of text messages, honestly 100,000 emails. Like I can't even explain the amount of emails I had. And so it was just very overwhelming and emotional. And
Yeah.
then, you know, you get home and you have to, I remember I landed in Denver and texted my family, and they didn't know yet. They had no idea, you know, if I was with Becker, if I wasn't. And I was like, let's all meet at my house. You know, I just landed, let's all meet at my house, like a half hour. They all came over, you know, and then I have to try and
Drink.
explain to them. Yeah, I have to try to explain to them like what happened. And they were shook because they saw me at hometowns and how close me and Becker
Oh,
were.
that's true. Yeah.
So it's a lot. And then even more, like you said, you're not allowed to talk about it. So I had friends who were like mad at me because I wouldn't say, you know, I'm under $1 million contract. Like I can't
Yeah.
tell, you know, people what happened. And especially coming out of Paradise, when
Oh.
I was very traumatic, and like imagine going through something incredibly traumatic but then not being able to talk to anybody about it.
Oh
Like
my
it
God.
very much weighs, yeah, on your mental health, and it weighs on yeah, I mean just what you're going through makes it 10 times harder. So it sucked. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I guess it's definitely a good thing though, like 'cause you had what is it, like a year basically in between the two?
Yeah, about
It
a year,
wasn't
year and a
right
half.
that following summer.
No, thank God, no. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be crazy. I don't know how people do it, like within that short.
Talking to like Colton, for example, he went from Bachelorette to Paradise to Bachelor. Like for
Yeah.
basically a year and a half, his life was on television. I'm like, man, that's crazy. Like that's a lot. And
Yeah.
Hannah went from Bachelor, Bachelorette, Dancing with the Stars, like a full year and a half
Yeah.
on television. It's like, man, that's a lot for
That's
your
so
mental health.
crazy to me. Like, I used to think it'd be cool to like just be on it, like the idea, like the traveling, the meeting the people. Like, I just from like watching it though, and then like, I listen obviously some of the podcasts, so you like hear a little bit behind the scenes. I couldn't do it. When I would be eaten alive, like
Yeah.
the world, like I couldn't.
Yeah,
Maybe
it can be
paradise, but probably not. I'm not that kind of person.
it can be a very toxic environment.
Yeah.
Both of them, Bachelor, Bachelorette, Paradise, all of it can be very toxic. But yeah, I mean, I always say like there's a ton of cons to going on the show, but right now for me, there's still enough pros where
Yeah.
I don't regret it. You know, there's still enough pros that keep me going. But I love that people are coming out on podcasts now and are coming out and talking about their
Yeah.
experience and kind of what they went through mentally, because I think that was kind of brushed under the rug a lot in the past. I think the show's
Mhm.
getting better at kind of, not only are they, I guess, you know, taking, I don't know if they're taking responsibility, but at least they're acknowledging what the show can do and what social media can do to a person's mental health, which is a good step in the right direction. And I don't think that would happen unless people like me and Olivia and like I can't even, you know, a
Yeah.
ton of others have spoken out about how much the show and the manipulation and stuff can affect you mentally. And so I love that now there's podcasts, because that's a lot. That's
Yeah.
good.
I think it's really cool too, is because it's kind of going along with how the world's going.
Yeah.
Like it's becoming more and more common to talk about mental health now than where maybe years ago it wasn't. So also like it would be weird on the show too. So I
Yeah, a
think I
thousand
could see
percent.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think us as a society is moving in the right direction
Yeah,
and taking steps
exactly.
forward, because I mean, you know, if Kevin Love, who's, you know, superstar basketball player, for somebody like him to come out, you know, like supposed to be tough and a, you know, badass
Mhm.
athlete, and for him, and I've multiple, Dak Prescott just came, I think it was
Yeah.
Dak, I want to say that right. Yeah, he just came out and talked about how he went through some hard times, and so it's pretty cool to see these people who have giant platforms, and men, because there's still so much stigma
Yeah.
around men discussing that kind of stuff, that they're coming out and they're able to talk about it, and I'll never forget when I came back from Paradise. Ben Higgins, friend of mine, we both live
I
here
love
in Denver, and I had yeah, had a meeting with him kind of, you know, when I was in my bad spot. And he said, right now, what you're feeling right now, you will never be more relatable to anyone than you are right now. Everybody hits rock bottom. Everybody finds that bottom. Everybody's bottom's deeper, you know, some are deeper than
right.
others, but everybody hits a rock bottom. So what you were coming off of Bachelorette, like up on that pedestal, he's like, you're not really relatable in a sense, you know, because not
Right.
everybody knows what that feels like, but everybody knows what it's like to be depressed and sad and anxious. So he's like, right now, you'll never be more relatable, and you need to take advantage of that. And so that's what kind of decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to open up about this. I'm going to talk about this. And it's really comforting and warming to see a lot of DMs and things, and people being able to, like, I got one yesterday, I think, somebody saying like, I want you to know, like, I did a podcast with Olivia, and she was like, I just want you to know, like, I was having a horrible day listening to your podcast, and I've never had somebody like I've never been able to relate so much, but it felt like you understood me when you were talking about your anxiety and your depression, what you went through. And she's like, I've never had that before. And it was an eye opener for me. And I was like, man, like that is why I do what I do. Like one DM can make it all worth it, you know? So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, there's the bad, obviously, but like sometimes that one good can outweigh all of the bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
1,000%. Yeah. And also opposite, unfortunately, too. A
no,
lot of good and one.
exactly. It kind of depends on the moment and
Yeah,
like what it
exactly.
is. But
But cool DMs like that where you literally can like change or save a person's life.
yeah,
Like that's not many people can say they can do that. So I don't take that for granted. It's humbling for sure.
yeah, I spoke at my old high school. I think it was last October. The health program was doing like a mental health week, and like I kind of opened it up, which was so cool. I got to talk to like 5 or 6 of their health classes because I have central pain syndrome, and so it's like a chronic ailment, chronic pain from a traumatic brain injury. So my world
Wow.
got like
I
changed
remember you kind of
completely.
mentioning that. Yeah.
So what was cool though is these kids like were opening up. Like a kid had had some kind of cancer and nobody knew in the class. Like no one, like he just never really, and he like opened up about it, and it was like I almost cried. It was just like
Yeah.
it was so crazy. And like just from my speech, me sharing my story, I got to do that.
It's so cool. It's such a cool moment. And I agree. Sometimes I get emotional. Like I'll kind of like get like,
Yeah.
you know, all like fuzzy feeling and get some tears in my eye. I'm like, man, that's so cool to be able to do that and to have an impact on people's lives. So that's awesome. That's a cool story.
So one thing I like we talked about for a minute earlier, but I like to kind of like share how you stay strong because you've obviously gone through a lot of hard times through the show and just in general, even during quarantine, like just
Mhm.
everyone does. So how do you personally stay strong?
So, yeah, it is different for everybody. And I want people to know that, like, if they listen, I always say that, like, listen, what works for me may not work for you.
Right.
And it's for me. So I'll kind of step back to Paradise real quick. So in Paradise, yeah, I had a really rough time. I was, you know, edited to be quote like the villain and just like, you know, really bad person. And it hurt really, really bad because a lot of people I considered friends, you know, lied to me, lied about me, stabbed me in the back. And I more than anything, coming off of that show and then watching it back and seeing some of the things I thought like people were saying about me, I lost a lot of faith, like just honestly in like humans. Like I just lost faith. And so I didn't trust anybody. I thought everybody was out to get me. I just thought like, what's the point of like living? Because I'm going like, if everybody is just going to stab each other in the back, and like people I considered friends, like
Mm-hmm.
it's just I was in a very bad spot. I really didn't get out of bed for about 2 to 3 months. I was, you know, I was just like, I don't know. I just felt like the whole world was weighing down on me, and I couldn't trust anybody. I was scared to go outside because I was scared of what people were going to say. I didn't want people to see me at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Um, so I was really, really bad, like super bad. And for me, the one thing is it's not going to happen overnight. So don't expect like me to say something or anybody to say something and suddenly it's like boom, it's like a flashlight and you're like back to better, because that's not the
Oh,
case. That's never the case. It's a very slow process. But there was a day for me where I want to say it was probably halfway through the film or the airing of Paradise, where I was probably the lowest I had been because like an episode had just aired and I got trashed again and bullied again. And it was just like,
every
I was
week,
just like,
not even
yeah, it
like
was
one
happening.
time.
Yeah, exactly. It was happening twice a week, Monday, Tuesday, every week. I was
Oh,
just getting
yeah.
destroyed and bullied. And, you know, social media was just, I was getting death threats and it was just out of control. And I was the lowest I had been, and I was in a really bad spot and like really bad. And for some reason, something came over me where I was like, I'm thirsty. I'm going to walk to Walgreens, which is about a mile away from me. And I got up, walked outside, walked to the, you know, Walgreens and walked back. And it was a gorgeous day out and it was sunny. And it just, for something clicked in me and it just changed for me. And I was like, okay, like you can get through this. Like you're going to get through this. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to get through this. And so every day, because when I was in my bad spots, like exercise is huge. We kind of talked about it. Exercise is huge for me and my health. I would, you know, I work out 1, 2, 3 times a day. And so for me to not being able to do that or not having, I don't know, not necessarily the courage, but the strength to
Mhm.
do that was really bad for me. And once my physical health started to deteriorate, my mental health just snowballed from there.
Yeah, that's
And I
yeah.
remember every day I would wake up and I'd be like, hey, tomorrow, you're going to get up tomorrow and you're going to go work out. And it just never happened except for that one day I walked to Walgreens. And then the next day I got up and I walked a little further. And then the next day I walked a little
Mhm.
further. And then I walked around the block, you know, and then I walked around 2 blocks. So it was a very slow thing for me. That was probably over like 2 months, to the point where then I jog, a mile, and things like that. So exercise was huge for me. Fresh air was huge for me. And then, I started to eat right again because I was eating like ice cream and pizza every day. And so then I was able to like start to eat right again. So for me, strong body, strong mind. That's basically what worked for me. And so, eventually then I was able to strong enough to talk about it. And then I was strong enough. I was doing therapy throughout the show, but even therapy, like it helped a lot. And I'm very much pro
Yeah.
therapy, but even then I still wasn't strong enough to necessarily talk about it, even with the therapist, because I would break down. So then I got to a point where physically I was healthy, and then I was able to talk to my therapist, and each session became better and better and better. And I'm still going to therapy. And I still have my up days, my good and my bad days, your ups and downs. I still have a bad day here and there. That's never going to change. And I think a lot of people always ask me, like, are you healed? And it's like, listen, I know, like, I'm never gonna be the person I was before. Everybody's broken in certain way. Everybody is broken in certain ways, and you don't need to like put together a puzzle to feel good again. Like, you're just different. Like, I'm a better man. I'm a stronger man, and there's things I've learned from that experience. And so I guess I'm never gonna be quote unquote healed. Like, I'm still gonna be just a different person than I was before. I'm not going to ever be back to what I was before Paradise. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That can be a good thing, to be honest. So
Right.
just know that there's not something that's going to all of a sudden, switch
Yeah.
on and you're going to be the person you were before. Because that's not the case. Yeah.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that is so true. And like when people are grieving too, like, yeah, you go through these stages and maybe you're accepting, but you're really, I mean, how do you ever accept that someone that you loved, let's say, passed away, or like that you were looked at to turn into this villain or whatever it may be? Like
Yeah.
you can't. Like there'll be moments you might go backward a little, but then you go forward, and that's just life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Amen.
everyone's gonna
Exactly.
hit that part at some point because otherwise you're never you're not changing, you're not evolving.
Exactly. And I think even before the show, I was obviously had bad days, good days, step backs. I just don't
Yeah.
think I could completely like understand and articulate what I was going through, where now I feel like I can do that. And one big thing for me too, and I know especially a lot of honestly like the young generation right now, and they're growing up in the hardest times of life with social media. Like, I can't imagine what that generation is going to look like mentally because of the things that social media can
Yeah.
do to you. Um, but for me, I thought for a long time that I needed an apology from people. Like, I thought I needed an apology from some of the people that were on the beach, an apology from some producers that lied to me. Just from the show. I thought I needed
Right.
that. And I'm sure, a lot of people when they get bullied, at first the thing they want is either, an apology or like to get back at them. I don't know, revenge. Like they
Yeah.
want revenge. And I wanted that for a long time. I did. But I finally got to a point where it's like, what would their apology do for me? Like, I don't think it would change my day to day. Like, it wouldn't. If it makes them feel better, fine, they can do it. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like, I don't need an apology. Your happiness shouldn't depend on another person.
Right.
So that was a big, something big that I realized. It was like, why am I depending on this for other
Yeah.
people or other things for my happiness when you should just be able to find that within yourself? So that was a big moment for me too.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is so important because at some point it's just words.
Yeah.
And
hmm
if they hear that you want that apology, then they give it to you. It's like, are they really sorry?
Yeah.
And
And
I
it's been
think
like a
it's
year
all
and a
about
half now,
action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all about action. Like maybe change it for the next time.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I know like some of the producers have reached out to me, or used to, and a lot of them I could tell they were like trying to give a sort of apology, because a lot of them were like, you were in a bad spot. Like, I've done what you've done. Everybody's done what you've done. And like what you did, when I defended myself, like they were like, I probably would have done the same thing. Like, but then it's hard because I bet those producers were then turning around talking to Kaylin and being like, he's an asshole, like, I can't believe it. So it's like really hard. I think I found out who my real friends are, and that was a
Yeah.
blessing. Like, I found out who my real friends are, and you do, through hard times, through traumatic times, you find out who you want in your life and who you don't. So that's good.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
ending point, really. Like, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. But this is your favorite time on your podcast. Because I've listened to a few of them where you
Oh,
could
awesome.
plug yourself.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I would love, yeah, if you guys want to find me other places. So I got my podcast, Behind the Rose podcast, which is it's a country music meets pop culture, meets mental health, meets social media kind of podcast. We talk about a lot of different things. It's a lot of fun, and we get a lot out of it. And I know a lot of listeners get a lot out of it. And then also on Instagram, my name is balake.h, like the Key and Peele skit. Yeah, so find me on Instagram. I do a lot of things regarding, mental health and kind of getting through ups and downs, which I'd say as positive as possible on social media. But yeah, so I hope a lot of the listeners here can check me out.
Thank you. And I will have that in the description. So when
Awesome. No, I appreciate that.
they click on it and just come see
Cool.
you.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. And this was
No,
another
thank you.
episode of Staying Forever Strong. Bye, guys.